knowing that there is only one life that expresses itself endlessly in forms both ordinary and astonishing. The way the honeybees are satiated by the dahlias and the marigolds, how the firs capture the evening light like an amber sap unbound by gravity. This ineffable singularity that I love to call it moves through migration and nesting, flowering and fruiting, death and regeneration. This presence is what I call God, the living current that flows in, through, and as all things. It is not separate from nature or humanity, but expresses as it. It is the source of compassion, of resilience, of bravery, and of love. It is the thread that connects every life to every other life, celebrating our surface level differences and revealing a deeper unity beneath them. And I am not separate from this. The love, intelligence, and creativity that I recognize as God is the very substance of my own being. The same life that bleeds through blackberries and salmonberries, that blazes through sunlight and through stars, lives at the center of my own awareness. There is no separation from spirit and its expression. And this is equally true for each one gathered here and each one joining from afar. That same love beats at the center of every life. The same presence looks through every pair of eyes. And so just from this place in awareness, from this place in consciousness, I speak my word for this service and for the sacred unfolding of this gathering. I know that the words spoken today are infused with wisdom and compassion and insight, and they land like seeds cast upon a fertile soil, awakening new possibilities, illuminating forgotten truths, and meeting each heart exactly where it is. I affirm that the music today opens up pathways beyond thought, that it is a rhythm of listening deeply, opening fully, and returning again and again and again to love. That in these musical moments there's this memory, this remembrance of that ancient rhythm that has sustained generations of seekers and mystics and wisdom keepers like those gathered here. And I know that in those silent moments, it is rich with that divine presence. That in that sacred stillness, each one opens more fully, more genuinely, more authentically to life. That what has once felt heavy now becomes medicine for the soul. And so I am grateful for this, grateful for the law that takes every clear word and carries it into expression. Grateful for the law that just always says, yes, yes, my beloved, it is so. And so I release this word into that love, trusting its perfect action. And that law that just brings everything into form. Love is already here, healing is already moving, and that deeper truth is revealing itself. And so with gratitude, I simply say, and so it is.
This whole month, we're looking at the idea of intense emotions, right? And kind of, because we have intense emotions. Have you noticed? Not you, but other people? Yeah, others, yeah. We all have them. And so we've been looking at intense emotions. We've been looking at anger. We've been looking at fear. And today we're going to look at brave choices, making some courageous choices that sometimes aren't the choices we're conditioned to make. Yes? Something different. So we're going to recognize that under anger, we talked about this a couple weeks ago, under anger is fear. And fear is ultimately about survival. I'm afraid I won't survive. And so today we're going to be looking at making some new choices, brave choices. And all of our choices are ultimately made from either fear or love. Take that in for a moment. All of our choices can be made from either fear or love. We can take the same action from either perspective. I can eat healthy foods because I love myself and love my body and want to feed it nutritiously. Or I can eat healthy foods because I'm afraid of getting sick and doing something wrong. Yeah? Same action, different energy. And as we know, the energy matters, yes? So if I'm taking in food, or whatever it is, in love, or if I'm taking in food in fear, I'm going to have a different thing. I think it was Jesus, that guy a couple thousand years ago down in the Palestinian Peninsula, who said that it's not what we put into our mouths, but what comes out of our mouths. And we might say that defiles us, is how he finished that. But really defines us, I would say. And it's what we put out of our, comes out of our mouths, comes out of our consciousness. And so what is our consciousness as we're doing it? So love is an expanding energy, yes? Take a moment to breathe, feel love, notice that your heart, your body, your kind of whole ooey-gooey part of you expands. Fear is a contractive energy. Love opens us up to the divine flow, the wisdom, the beauty, the real power, the real peace. Fear closes the door on all that. When we're in fear, we believe that we're isolated and alone. And I, by myself, have to make it all happen. Yes? Okay. If it is to be, it's up to me. Okay. So breathe. While choosing to be the person through whom divine energy flows to create greater and greater good is a wonderful and personally responsible thing. We sometimes think that just being openly loving is irresponsible. There's, where did I put my phone? I saw a quote this week from an Iraqi musician who, when there was a car bomb that went off near his home, he took his cello. He's a composer and conductor and plays cello. Took his cello over to the site of the car bombing and sat and played music. As Tim referred to in the opening prayer, that music is such an ancient thing that anchors us. And what he says is that from a distance, peace looks soft, as does love. Empires built on force eventually collapse. Systems built on trust endure. And one of the things he said was that music has trust in it. And so when we talk about being loving, when we talk about coming from love, it looks on the surface soft, but it's really the most powerful thing that we can do. When we cross over into believing that I am totally responsible for the condition of life, the world, and everything and everyone around me, we've all done this at some point in time and others. Pray for the flow of my mouth. Yeah, right, yeah, that was... In our opening before the service prayer, I was sitting there going, God's words flow through me, and I was having trouble getting that to flow out. So I guess flow is not happening at the mouth today. But anyways, we'll work on it. We'll move through. I trust my practitioners. But when we're in that place of fear, we cut ourselves off from the infinite field of support that's all around us. We're always immersed in this infinite field that wants to express itself in, through, and as us in fabulous and wonderful ways, yes? Ernest Holmes says that either I live in God or I live in nothing but material belief. Either I live in an awareness that I'm in this infinite presence, or I'm living in just belief in the material stuff. And when we do that, we cut ourselves off. Ernest also says there's a power in the universe greater than we are, and we can use it. A power in the universe greater than we are. And we can use it. Isn't that good news? Do we use it? Do we remember? This past week, I was on a Zoom call with a friend of mine, Christine S., and she talked about, she has a daughter who was raised in religious science. She's now in her 20s. And she and her, I think it's partner, husband, boy, I don't remember, significant other, were planning a cross-country trip last March. Now, March across the country is not a really great time for driving across country, yes? And so Christine S. expressed, excepting for Jennifer there, who's going, well, I did it, yeah. But they were taking a more northerly route. So Christine S. said, it's like, she was worried about her daughter, right? And she goes, don't worry, Mom. I've got it all cleared out. I put in my consciousness for prayer that we're going to have easy trip. With God, all things are possible, and I know it's going to happen. So the week before the trip, it was stormy and nasty. The week after the trip, it was stormy and nasty. The week of the trip, sailed straight through. She encountered a little bit of rain in the Midwest. Okay? Because nobody told her that we can't do that it doesn't work that way. So she believed it. And the universe says, yes. What do you want to create today? When we live from love, capital L love, we live in alignment with that power whose nature is love. God isn't, I love Emily Cady's, God isn't a being that is loving. God is the love itself. God is love. And so it can't turn it on or off. So we have this teaching symbol. We call it the creative process. If you can bring up that slide, Carrie. The creative process chart, which is our very teaching symbol that represents the flow of creativity in the universe. We see that the true creativity begins at the top, at the level of spirit, of the level of pure love. Everything created started in pure love. Yes? Most of our culture never rises to that level. Most of our culture is trained to stay at the level of the mental plane, recycling variations of the same ideas and beliefs over and over and over and over again, and thinking that's creativity. But tuning into the level of spirit, asking what is spirit's highest idea here? What is this infinite mind, this infinite presence, this infinite love's highest idea here? Might be bigger than mine, or the one that I can think of on my mental level, yes? Might be bigger than anything I've ever allowed into my life before. When we're living in that question, when we're living in that consciousness, it shifts us out of our old thoughts and feelings and beliefs and opens us up to something truly new. Thanks, Carrie. So fear and anger are intense emotions when we're engaged, and when we're engaged in them, they can seem really intense. Right? They can seem very powerful, very forceful, very empowering. They can feel that way. But often we're like a person with a very powerful car who's got it, sitting there and is just spinning the tires, right? Not going anywhere, just spinning the tires. Lots of smoke and noise. Feels powerful, but we're not going anywhere. Okay? This is why Ernest invited us to be for something and against nothing. See, being against can feel very dramatic and very powerful. We see a lot of that in our culture, right? We got this group that's against this group, and this group that's against this group, and then these people that are against those people, and all that. It feels very empowering. It can feel very dramatic. But if we just stay there, it's not that we don't use and say, we'll talk about this in a minute, but it's not that we're doormats. We can sit there and say, I notice this doesn't work, and have some feeling about it, right? As long as we move from there, do something from there. If we just stay in that anger, if we just stay in that stuff, we're just spinning tires, making a lot of smoke and noise, right? And there's little or no real forward progress. Again, that doesn't mean we're doormats sitting back with a pot of spiritual bypass tea, sipping a cup of spiritual bypass tea, right? Okay? That's not what we're, going, it's all good. It's all good. It's all good. That's not what we're talking about. We're intelligent beings, right? We are intelligent beings with discernment who can look at something and say, this isn't right. This isn't an alignment with the highest and best and the capital T truth way of being. Yes? Okay? And we may initially feel angry, but we can then mindfully breathe and remember that under anger is fear, and fear is always about survival and protection, and from there ask, What does love want to create here instead of this? See, when I look at a situation in the world and I find myself being angry about it, it's like, okay, what do I want to create instead of this? What does love through me want to create instead of this? Rather than just going, that person, those people, da-da-da, okay? That does nothing. And you notice there's the 3 pointed back. What do I want to create here instead of this? And then apply our energy to moving forward along that path, creating something that's genuinely new, that has not been here before. So here's the good news and bad news about the path of love. You ready? It's not the normal accepted path. It's not what everybody else is walking, so it looks different. It feels different. We look different. We feel different. Many, maybe most of our cultural paths are based on fear and anger. Whether high energy, obvious anger, the smoke and noise, or the more subtle anger that leads us to live what Thoreau called lives of quiet desperation. Out of fear, we want to fit in, to be like, and to be liked by others. And there's nothing inherently wrong with this until we realize that we've sacrificed our authentic, real self for acceptance, for being approved of, to belong, to go along with a culture based on anger and fear. Breathe. But that's not you, right? That's not you. Okay. We have the choice to step out of that river and onto the shore of authenticity, capital A authenticity, to step on the shore that's based on love, based on clear perception that there is a power greater than we are, and that not only can we use it, it wants to be used by us, because it wants to express its own true nature through us. As long as we're saying, no, I'm going to do it my way, I got a better idea, we just kind of block it off, and it just sits there as a potential energy that we never realize. Okay? When we open up and say, yes, I'm willing to let that, even if it feels different, even if it feels uncomfortable, even if it looks different than what people are doing around me, I am willing to say yes and let that express through me. Then we can turn from the culture of fear and anger, which seems so powerful and normal, and instead actually turn to the real power, capital P power, because it's different, and create something new, create something different. This is the brave choice. Do I make that choice to do something different? Do I make that choice to stand in authenticity? Because it's different, we're going to experience something called vulnerability. Vulnerability. The book this month is Brené Brown, right? So you know we're going to be talking about vulnerability. And that simply means I'm willing to be seen in a way that looks weak. Remember the comment that the maestro made about peace looks on the surface weak. Love looks on the surface weak. But it's really the long-lasting, everlasting power. It's really the strength. When we're just going along with the group, we feel safe, yes? We don't have to think. We just turn our brains off. Whatever the groupthink is, we're going along with that. When we listen to our inner voice instead, which may be saying something different than the group voice, we face the fear of being outside the group. Fear of survival. We can cover that fear over with anger. We can rage against the established ways, as many of us did in our teens. How many were raging against the establishment when we were, I had my hair down to here, and don't trust anybody over 30. So we can't trust anybody in this room. Except to Kathy, who's eternally young. Or we can take the path of choosing love and authenticity without all the smoke and noise, in a way that's both gentle and firm. Yes? It's a way that's grounded in capital T truth, which allows us to feel a deep peace within and express from that peace. To find that place within you that is peace and express from that. Brene Brown has this to say about vulnerability from her book, Daring Greatly. She said, vulnerability isn't good or bad. It's not what we call a dark emotion, nor is it always a light, positive experience. Vulnerability is the core of all feelings and emotions. To feel is to be vulnerable. To believe vulnerability is weakness is to believe that feeling is weakness. To foreclose on our emotional life out of a fear that the cost will be too high is to walk away from the very thing that gives purpose and meaning to life. Our feelings, our experience of that. You know, when I was a very lonely teenager and very frustrated, my favorite song was Simon and Garfunkel's I Am a Rock, I Am an Island. What is it? And a rock never feels no pain, and an island never cries. And that was my, you know, Mr. Spock was my hero. Pure logic, no emotion, you know. I've discovered that that wasn't the most fabulous way to live life. Feelings really do count. Feelings are really important. So as we step into our truth, our capital T truth, exposing ourselves to possible disagreement and even ridicule from those caught in the fog of fear and anger, it's important to stay anchored in spirit. This is why you come to a spiritual community. It's because sometimes we can get lost out there, yes? Yes? Okay. Other than David, who never gets lost. And so we come together to remember who we truly are. That's really the purpose of why we're gathered here. It's not about is the music excellent, it's not about is the talk excellent, it's not about our, you know, it's to be here in communion, remembering with other people who remember the truth of who we are and who can help remind us of that truth. So it's important to stay anchored in spirit, to stay anchored in that infinite presence which lives, moves, and has its being in, through, and as each of us. Nudge your neighbor and say, you're God, and Spirit is moving through you right now. Make sure that she gets that little, you're good. Okay, you know this already. We're here to feel the anger and the fear and choose love anyway. That's our brave choice. So this week, 2 practices. The first one, become aware of the foundation from which you make decisions this week. Just notice it, pay attention. It might be very subtle sometimes. Is it from fear of consequences or love of the outcome? I gave the example at the start of how am I eating food? Am I eating food because I'm afraid I'll get sick if I don't eat the right foods? Or am I eating food out of love for my health and my body? Okay, so become aware. Just become aware. Notice what the decisions you make this week and what the foundation is. And then secondly, take an area that you might have been making decisions that don't feel fulfilling and ask, what would love, capital L, love, do here? And then act from that answer. And as you act, remember that you have tools, visioning, which is asking what's Spirit's highest idea here. When we're stuck, it's good to say, hey, okay, I'm stuck. Higher power, higher intelligence, bigger thing than me. What is the way out of this? What's the way through this? Show me the way. Now, it usually doesn't come in a blinding flash of light. Sorry. Yeah. But it does come. But we oftentimes have to be quiet and listen and be a little patient. Because mostly we have to get our own bloated nothingness out of the way, yes? Okay. And use spiritual mind treatment to support you also. Are you willing to play with those 2 practices this week? Great. I'm going to close with a quote from Ernest Holmes from 365 Days of Richer Living, just a week or so ago. He says, the love that is mine to give is from God. See, this is the thing. We say we want to be loving. It's not my love that I'm giving. I'm just letting the infinite love pass through me. Yes? I don't have to make it happen. I'm letting what already exists all around me, within me, pass through me. So he says, the love that is mine to give is from God, and I give it into my world with ease. I love to love with the love of God. I love to free my fellow man in love. I love to feel that all people everywhere are one with me and are a blessing to me. This deep inner love gives me peace of mind. It gives me a feeling of being worthwhile. It lets me know that I am loved by others. All love is mine to give this day. I invite you to take that in. That part about I love to feel that all people everywhere are one with me, that doesn't mean you have to like them, doesn't mean you have to approve of everything they do, and yet we are still one. And when we can recognize that, we can get below the surface of what they're doing, what I'm doing, all that stuff, and say, you know what? You and this person that irks the heck out of me, and I are one. Still one. And from there I can love. We have an affirmation. You'll say this with me. I choose love as the source of all my decision. I let fear and anger fall away. I know ultimately there is only love. Let's say it again. I choose love as a source of my decisions. I let fear and anger fall away. I know ultimately that there is only love. And so it is. So you are. Thank you.